Good morning, everyone. This is Professor Nohai-Seaman, and welcome to Math 1100 Quantitative Reasoning, otherwise known as QR. So the first thing I'm going to do here is to just briefly go over the syllabus like you would typically go over on your first day of an in-person class. So here we have, the reason you're placed into this class, according probably also to your degree works that this is a class that you should be taking. Our course is entirely online, and therefore we don't have any meeting times. However, I do have office hours. Hopefully you have logged into My Open Math at this point, followed the directions in the previous email announcement I sent. And if you didn't receive that email, it is in Blackboard under the announcements. I will have office hours this summer, Monday through Thursday, every day of those, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So that's when I'll be online. So if you did send something during that hour, I will immediately respond. So that's what it means to have online office hours. At the same time, if you send something outside of those hours, that's okay, because if nobody talks to me in that hour, I'm going to respond to other emails that were sent overnight or in the morning before this 10 to 11 time. So no worries on what time you send anything. I don't get a ping at my house. I will answer when I'm available. This email is not correct, so I'll change that. However, I think that one still works, so it's not a problem. My campus office is at Bridgeport at Housatonic. However, I'm not going to actually be in the office during this summer. Since it's entirely online, I am working from home. So please, by all means, email me, use the chat feature on Microsoft Teams, which I'll go over in another video. You can call my office phone, because when you call that and you leave a message, it will go straight to voicemail, obviously, and those voicemails get turned into an audio that I can listen to through my email. So never worry about leaving a message. And you're the only class I'm teaching right now, so as long as you identify by your first name, I'll know who you are. So it's not a problem. All right. Again, my office hours 11 to 12. I'll use all those features. I really like to use chat. So we can be kind of more casual during that time, and it's more instantaneous to send to each other. So I'll go over that in another video if you've never used Teams chat before. I will respond to you within 24 hours. So even though I don't have online office hours during the summer, I am definitely checking my email every day for you, and I will respond, just not always in a particular time that might be you're available, okay, or that I'm available for instantaneous response. The required textbook is a book that I wrote. It's a workbook. It's free to you. You have three options. You can download the document from My Open Math onto your tablet and fill in the work that way if you prefer. You could print it at home, which I don't recommend because that is expensive. But I have number 3. I've already sent all of you a physical copy. So those were sent out yesterday. I apologize for being late on that, but with the holiday and with the weather last week, I couldn't actually go into work. So if you've read my intro on My Open Math, you know that I live on Long Island. So I take the ferry to work. And so with the weather last week, I did not want to take the ferry over on that choppy water to actually make the copies for you. So I apologize for that. It's not a huge deal that you don't have the text ready for you today. You can write down the work on paper. It's not a big deal at all. And I don't make any money off of these student workbooks. So even though I wrote it, I don't make any money there. Eventually I'm going to sell it through the bookstore. Even then, I don't make any money. They don't make any money. It's printed and sold that way. So it's much easier to get, but that's not going to apply to you guys. That being said, if you find any mistakes in the workbook, I am in that editing process. Please share them with me, because absolutely, I will not take offense to it. We're all kind of in this together. This is only the second time I've used this workbook. I used it this past semester, And the students were really open as to, things that might have been wrong. And so I'm still working on those edits. So you guys still have the old version of that. So just let me know. Okay. Excuse me. So we'll be using some different things this semester. Obviously, My Open Math, Teams for texting. Now, if we do have to meet online, we can use WebEx if you want to use and talk to me physically. We could also use Teams. It depends, what's easy for you actually, because I have both Teams and WebEx. WebEx is like a video chat like Zoom. However, we don't actually have to have the cameras on. Like I don't have my camera on now as I'm recording this. So it's not a big deal at all. We could just kind of talk to each other like we're on the phone. We can use Excel this semester. Desmos is my favorite to use. Desmos is our online calculator. You can use their website, desmos.com, or you can download it to your phone. It's a little small on the phone. You can use it on your tablet as well. I like using it on the computer because it's big and you can see everything. The nice part is you can also take screenshots of that to send me your work, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. We will also use Word and YouTube because my videos are all saved to YouTube. If you have if you don't have a computer or a laptop or something like that, computers are available at Housatonic. You do have to go down there to pick it up if you don't live in the area. Even if you live in the area, you'll have to go over to Housatonic to pick that up. But let me know if you need a laptop or something like that, because I can give you the form to fill out so that you can borrow one from our library and our media services. All right. Here are our student learning outcomes. Online asynchronous means we don't have a meeting time, although absolutely you can come to my office hours and that's in real time. But I don't teach. I more like tutor during that time. So that's homework help and things like that. All right. Here's the grading. Now, this is an online class over 5 weeks. So I've taken my 15-week class and I've scrunched it down to 5 weeks. So you got to do triple time in this class. Although I don't feel like it'll be as bad as that sounds, because this class is not as a traditional of a math class as you may have typically experienced. Normally, this class, I usually have it as a writing intensive, but for summer, that's just not going to work for us, and so that's not appropriate. Now, at the same time, we do have some writing in this course, just not as much as I usually have in my 15-week course. But it is a very intensive course, so you do not want to fall behind in any way. There are the course breakdowns or the grade breakdowns, which are standard across the system. Within my class, we have a couple things going on. Homework being, in my opinion, the most important. As long as you're doing your homework, the quizzes and assessments will not feel as difficult. So we have our 2 assessments and our other assessment, our final assessment. Oh, no, these are our 2 assessments. We have 1 assessment that's worth 30% and the other assessment that is also worth 30%. So it's going to feel like a midterm and a final, but normally finals are cumulative. This one will not be cumulative. It'll just be the second half of the course that we have an assessment on. And I call them assessments rather than tests because they're not going to look like your quizzes. The quizzes are going to look like tests, like a test you would typically take in math class. An assessment is more like a project. So it'll be more word problems, but I'm going to set you up in the homework and quizzes for success in these longer word problems. And I will explain them as we get to those. So try not to think about those too much right now in terms of what we're doing for those. And then we have our journals and our discussion questions. So that's our writing portion of the class. All right. For the homeworks and the quizzes, you have to, when you're completing the homework, when you're completing the quiz, obviously this is math, so there's math work to write on a piece of paper. Whatever you write on the piece of paper, I want you to take a picture of it and put it into, so you might have to take multiple pictures because it might be a couple pages long. And I want you to put it into a Word document, and then I want you to submit it on Blackboard. If you don't submit the work for those homeworks, your homework grade will be divided in 2. So it will be reduced by half. Okay, that's pretty standard. across my classes, especially during my summer classes. If you don't submit these things, you won't get full credit for them, even though it may have full credit when you first submit it. If you don't submit that paperwork, then you're not going to get credit for that. That being said, some homeworks don't require it, and that will be indicated on your Blackboard. So on Blackboard, we have everything set up in terms of, the due dates and things like that. But we also have that on My Open Math, and I'll show you both of those and where those are all located. So there are 3 unit assessments, or there are 3 units. However, there are only going to be 2 assessments. So assessment 1 will cover units 1 and 2. So that's actually the bigger one. And then assessment 2 will cover unit 3 plus a little summative. So the details to that are to be determined. Summative usually means a little bit cumulative, but math builds on itself anyway. So that summative part may be based on how you did in units 1 and 2 in that assessment. So details on that to be determined. I'm in the process. I've never taught this version of this class during the summer, so it's a work in progress there. Attendance and attendance guidelines. It's a 5-week class. You should be logging on every day and making sure you have everything done, and see my feedback for everything. And I'll show you where those are all located once we get to that part of the video. Course evaluations at the end of my course. Please fill out the course evaluation to let me know how I can improve the course. Academic integrity is probably one of the most important things. In our class, there's not a lot of plagiarism in terms of how you feel with the writing, because a lot of the writing is personalized. So, why would you use ChatGPT to tell me your opinion about something? It's more like using ChatGPT or other AI to complete the quizzes and the homework and things like that. I do have to say, since our work is less standard than a typical math class, you'll find that a lot of times ChatGPT, PhotoMath, those kinds of AIs are not always correct. Or it solves it correctly, but it solves it in a way that is not appropriate for this class. So there's one part of this course where we're solving equations, and I want you to graph those equations to solve them. Well, ChatGPT or PhotoMath will solve it using trigonometry, which is absolutely not appropriate for this class. So you do have to do it the way that we're supposed to be doing it in this course, as opposed to an alternative way. At the same time, if you've learned a way to solve by hand that is appropriate, that's okay. But trigonometry in this course is usually what I see come up. And then I know you've used AI to do that, so you don't want to cross that boundary of using AI. That also being said, if you're stuck and I'm not available, this stuff is important to, I think, to use but not cheat from, if that makes sense. If you just kind of need a hint, that's an appropriate use for it. Using it for every single problem, no. Also, I have lots and lots of videos located in this software. So everything you have is right there, as long as you follow the directions on how to approach this course. You should be okay. And if you're not, that's when I'd rather you just ask me, because I can give you a better hint than any of those things can. The withdrawal deadline is on the academic calendar, and there's a policy for that. So you see our 5 weeks right there. We're going to do some problem solving, proportional reasoning to start with. After our course introduction this week, some measurement and dimensional analysis, set theory and logic. Week 3, we're going to do some growth modeling, part 1 and 2, and finance. And then we'll have assessment 1 in week 4. And then really right quick after that, it's kind of in between, actually, in between week 3 and week 4 that we have assessment 1. Then we're going to do some statistics and things like that and probability, and then have assessment 2. And then that's the end of our course. It goes really, really quickly. Here's some other academic engagement policy. As long as you sign on and you participate in some way, I will mark you as present for the course. All right, so make sure you do that almost immediately. Again, they go over academic integrity in more detail here. We are going to use a Blackboard in a limited way. you should know that your grades will not be on Blackboard. Your grades will be located in My Open Math. So keep that in mind. While we do submit our homework work to Blackboard, I will not, I'll be looking at your homework on there, obviously, along with My Open Math, but I won't be grading it on Blackboard. It's just for you to be able to submit it. There are no class cancellations, so there's that. However, if something comes up, I mean, this is the beginning of some seasons where, your internet could go out. Kind of just keep in touch with me about that. Email me from your phone, or, text me on Teams chat. Your phone is not the best way to use to complete this course. Even an iPad is not the best, your tablets for completing this course. You can do a lot of it on there, but not everything. So keep that in mind. A laptop is the best way to approach this course. All right, and I think that is about it. And you can read all through these. They're pretty standard throughout the system. I don't have recorded class sessions, although I do have recorded videos for all your work and things like that. Okay. So I just put these things and information on there in case you need them for anything else. Student handbook, tutoring resources, I'll go over that. Veterans withdrawal deadlines, withdrawal policy is all on there. So that is our syllabus. I will have another video for our tour of My Open Math and Blackboard.